Good morning. Today is January 22nd, Monday, 2024, 5:57 a.m. Reading from Proverbs 22, verse 15. Folly is bound up in the heart of a child, but the rod of discipline drives it far from him. I think this is an excellent verse to open to discuss the concept of original sin, to bring into the aspect, because it almost sounds like this verse, I'm sure this verse is used to defend the point of original sin, that we are stained with the sin stain in our heart from Adam. We have no choice but sin, and then the Calvinistic interpretation of that, supporting that aspect of total depravity, because folly is bound up in the heart of a child. But here's what's interesting. The follow-up, but the rod of discipline drives it far from him. The rod of discipline, consequences, is discipline. Discipline is consequences, but the rod of discipline drives it far from him. Drives what far from him? Folly. Which means he can be taught, he can be trained to overcome this folly that is bound up in the heart of a child. And I think the better way to understand this isn't the fact that there's something spiritually genetically wrong with the individual, that we were born with this perpetual in the flesh and disability. Rather, it's not a disability, it's an ability, and that ability is the fact that we have the capacity to exist in a spiritual realm. We are spirit and we are flesh. So it is our spiritual nature that makes us subject to spiritual influence. It's when we have ears, we hear as a child. We have senses. We're able to see. Light impacts our eyes and our brain, and that's how we learn. And the same typically with our hearing. That's how we're designed. And it's the same way we have a spiritual sense. We are spirit beings. And as such, we're born into this spiritually corrupt world. It is one that is full of good and evil at the spiritual level. And the fact that it's expressed this way is very useful, I think, for describing this, because it uses the word folly as in foolishness, as in this capacity for doing stupid things, foolish things. And it seems like it's bound up in the heart of a child. Children will do crazy things, will do dumb things. They will do this and that. And part of that, I think, can be attributed to the fact that we're children and we're simply learning, and we make mistakes. We drop things. We touch things we shouldn't. Okay, so we learn from the consequences of those actions. But then there are other behavioral tendencies that, left unchecked, can become exaggerated and become real problems for young children, adolescents, and adults if those things remain undisciplined. If there's no consequences for those actions will persist. And I think that's a great way to unpack that and to show that we are free moral agents. We do have the ability to choose, which is why consequences matter. Consequences show us culturally why one choice is better than another, or why certain choices are not preferable. They're not better than others. They instruct us, they teach us, and the purpose of this instruction and teaching isn't so that we fit some kind of religious mold. I know that's the caricature that is placed on this by the I want to say simple-minded or the ignorant when they're looking at this, but the purpose of this instruction is survival of the species. Ultimately, if you really want to look at the organic basis of this, it's survival. You go playing in that berry patch, you're liable to step on or eat one of those berries, which are poisonous, and you will die. And so when you see the children or that young person ignoring that instruction, and then they go out and they venture and they do that, well, there are consequences for that. And those consequences are necessary and should be motivational. That's discipline. And the purpose of those consequences, the purpose of that discipline, the purpose of that rod of discipline is to drive that folly far from the individual, is to help them survive. By helping every individual survive, we are extending the survivability of the species. It's about survival. It really is. It's pretty basic when you think about it. And I think it as a final thought here, I think that's why that this type of teaching, this type of perspective is so pushed back on by culture today, because there's this hate of discipline. There's this hate of instruction. Well, that is self-destructive at its core, which I think is it's a tell of where the source of that that thinking comes from. The influence is maybe a better word. The influence from where that thinking is derived from, which in itself is folly, and ultimately there will be consequences for that folly as well. Okay, that's all.